Hello there, is that Tondrae Kemp?
Hey, this is Tondrae.
Hi, it's DJ Gloss here from Sound Fusion Radio London. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing, Glossy?
I'm very well indeed, thank you. Very well indeed. Have I caught you at a good time?
Yeah, no, this is a good time.
Wonderful. That's brilliant. So, how's the weather and how are you?
I'm good. The weather is about as bad as it can be.
Really?
Yeah, it's about 7 inches of snow outside, but I'm inside, so I'm good.
There you go. This is New York, is it?
Yeah, I'm in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn, and 7 inches of snow. Wow. There you go. Does everything stop functioning in Brooklyn when it snows? Because it does in London, I can tell you.
Oh, not at all. Everything is still moving like normal.
Really? Yeah, we're really useless at that here in London. As soon as there's an inch of snow on the ground, everything grinds to a halt here. The trains stop everything. You know, it's unbelievable.
I kind of wish it was like that. Yeah, I wish it was like that here, but no. Everybody's still expected to be where they're supposed to be.
Ah, well, there you go. There you go. Well, it's wonderful to hear your voice, and thank you very much for allowing us to interview you today. That's great. Do you mind if I start firing some questions at you? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, so you started out in New Orleans, but you moved to New York. Was that a musical move? Was that a decision based on your musical career?
Kind of. I was actually living in New Orleans when Katrina happened, and
right.
Yeah, I was in New York doing a gig when it happened, and I just wound up staying. So, yeah, a musical move kind of but pushed by realities. By
natural events, yeah, understood.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, that was a major event, sir. Definitely, indeed. Yep. So,
Certainly.
yeah, that's right. So, what started you off in music? I know you sort of began singing in the church at the tender age of 10, but what sort of got you moving on that?
I would say probably, the music around the house on the radio growing up. My grandmother and my mom used to just always be playing these soul stations, which would be, rocking all of the contemporary hits of the time. So it was just, filtering through my brain from a young age, and it just became natural to try to speak through singing something. And so that's pretty much what kind of drove me to it. I didn't even intentionally say I'm going to be an artist or a singer. It just kind of happened.
Well, yeah, as it often does, and of course when there's a lot of music in the home, that's where the attraction sort of comes, isn't it? That's the same sort of with me, really. Always lots of music around me, and that's how I ended up being a DJ. So, it happens that way, doesn't it? So brilliant. So, what are your earliest musical event memories? Can you remember being on sort of stage in front of an audience as a child?
I remember, church, obviously, as you mentioned. I remember, my first solo, and, the intimidation of walking up from the back of the choir to the mic.
Yeah.
And saying, okay, this is my moment, I got to do well. And then I also remember the first time that I sang outside of church at this school talent show in middle school. I guess it was 8th grade.
Wonderful.
And just, I sounded horrible. It was me and a bunch of other people who couldn't sing at all from the track team. And we just murdered New Edition's Can You Stand the Rain. But it felt good, and I was kind of hooked after that, I guess.
Brilliant. That's what a wonderful story. You only get that from the artist, that's fantastic. I love it. So who were your sort of major musical influences as you grew up?
A lot of the obvious ones that I call it the soul starter kit.
Yeah, I got that written down here, actually. That's in my notes, your soul starter kit. Yeah. Tell us about your soul starter kit then.
Stevie, Marvin Gaye, Bob Marley. I don't know if Bob is necessarily in the starter kit for everybody, but for me he is. Bill Withers is a big influence of mine. I was actually influenced a lot by hip hop early on, so Public Enemy and Rakim inspired me a lot. I was also, I was, like I said, I was real time in the church. My grandmother and everybody had me in there like 5 days a week, literally. So I would hear all of these vocal quartets coming through. I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, by the way, during this time. So we get all these vocal quartets coming from the Mississippi Delta, just doing their tours through the churches. So I would get like the Dixie Hummingbirds or some of the blind boys from Alabama coming through. So harmonies and all this stuff were just amazing to me. Like as a child, I was hearing all this. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the number one influence on any soul songwriter would probably be Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, definitely. The eighth Stevie Wonder of the world, I call him, and yeah, definitely a huge influence, I think, on everybody. But there's a lot of good names in your Soul Starter kit, and I think Bob Marley. Yeah, why not? Yeah, definitely. The man was very good at telling a story musically, wasn't he? He was incredibly good at telling a musical story. I mean, the world used to listen, and that takes some doing.
Yeah, I find he was impeccable. I mean, I don't recall listening to any Bob Marley recording where he had any second of being off key, or or not delivering a line with all this authenticity and sincerity behind it. I mean, he honestly, of everybody that I mentioned, maybe minus Stevie and Marvin, that would be the top three, I would say.
Definitely.
Stevie and Marvin.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The other thing that, obviously with Bob Marley was quite often live, he would sing something in a completely different fashion just because of it, and that takes some doing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you say, deliver every time on key. Just absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, just murdering it all the time.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. Yeah. So you were involved in film school at university, and that was quite a big influence for you musically, wasn't it, in New Orleans?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a filmmaker. It's been a while actually since I've truly devoted myself to a film. I'm actually about to jump back into that soon because I've just been focused so much on music. But yeah, that's actually what got me back to New Orleans. I went to college in Atlanta initially, and then for film, and then I decided to go home and take up film at the University of New Orleans. And strangely enough, right now it's sort of a burgeoning scene in New Orleans. There's a lot of Hollywood films being shot there and HBO shows and all of the like, but I'm not there now. But yeah, it's another passion for sure, film and acting.
Without a doubt, yeah. I've just really wanted to talk a little bit more about your latest album, and there's a whole load of influences in there in Sun Money, and basically, there's a little bit of reggae in some tracks. There's a little bit of Latin influence. Can you tell us a little bit more about all those sort of various influences that you've got involved in the album there, Sun Money?
Well, I could tell you, I guess I'll start by telling you the story of the title because that will kind of explain some of the influences too.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, great.
Sun Money is actually sort of a pseudonym for gratitude. I know this older gentleman in New Orleans who was a blues musician, songwriter. He kind of basically got robbed over his early career. I'm actually not supposed to mention his name, so I won't. But he was telling me, I asked him one day, just like, why do you still do it? Like, most people would be bitter and jaded by now. He said, I don't do this for money or anything. I do this for sun money. If I wake up in the morning and see the sun, then I'm paid. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And that just struck me as how I would want to be, why I'd want to make music, not to be famous or become big. That would be awesome. But but if you're doing it for the right reasons, which I feel like he is, he feels that God intends him to get up in the morning and pick up that guitar and just sing something.
Yeah.
So then I think you're doing it for the right reason. So that's where I got the title, and that's the whole concept of Sun Money and sort of gratitude and being authentic to yourself.
That's lovely. That's really, and now you've explained the title. I can see exactly what you mean. Sun Money being that, just the payment of personal enjoyment, pleasure, peace. Wonderful.
Yeah. Musically, as you said, it's sort of got a bunch of reggae-ish moments and some very bluesy ones. And I think I was kind of inspired by, at least on the blues, by that gentleman that I just mentioned.
Yes, yeah.
The song "Happiness," for example, it's very bluesy and essentially he's a blues musician, so I just was inspired by him. And then sort of the other reggae feel, I don't know, it just kind of came out that way. I really didn't approach it saying I'm going to make a reggae-infused vibe, as much as I guess maybe what I was listening to at the time, and also just the normal feel of each song felt like producing it in that style. It was just a natural thing.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, Babylon's Fall Down, with One Eye there, and Baby Girl, those two have a great sort of reggae feel to them, but it's a very organic feel. It definitely lends itself beautifully to the song. And perhaps I can ask you a little bit about Babylon's Fall Down, and you can tell us a little bit more about that particular tune.
Okay. Babylon's Fall Down is basically trying to. I mean, it is I guess you would say it's an activist sort of statement to say that society has these ills and governments are corrupt and whatever have you. The powers that be are not necessarily looking out for your well-being. In fact, they're more so looking out for theirs, and so you should just be aware of that. But more than anything, I guess it's a spiritual concept that says no matter what, they can live in this glory now, but Babylon will fall down. And that's because it can't last forever. Evil can't just rock on without being checked. And that's kind of my thought process on Babylon's Fall Down. Well, that's probably why it wound up being a reggae tune, after all. It wasn't written as a reggae tune.
It lends itself beautifully to a reggae tune, that's for sure. And I understand. And statement of fact is never a wrong thing, Tondrae, in my eyes. And I think it's a great tune. And Baby Girl, perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about that one.
Baby Girl, actually, that was a song that I wrote with he's a bandmate of mine, and he's also he runs the label that we're on, Quality Records. Guy Daniel Haddock. I co-wrote that song with him, co-produced it with him, and it's he brought me the music. It was it had the reggae vibe to it initially, and immediately I just heard a melody and started humming it, and then it kind of became what you can hear, which is about a forlorn desire for a past love, and wondering if ever you'll be able to get that person back, that love back with that person, and if all the distance in time that has separated you two matters to her. Does she think about you? And I don't know how. I mean, he brought the track to me as a reggae track already, a reggae-ish soul vibe. So we didn't intend to go there. It just kind of happened.
Well, I think often that's the best way, isn't it, Tondrae? I think when things just happen musically, they tend to be what was supposed to happen. If you know what I mean. It's It works extremely well. You're described, and this is taken from one of the bios I read about you, is there's a certain charisma, a certain depth, a certain je ne sais quoi about Tondrae. You can hear it in his lyrics, his voice, and you feel it in his vibe and see it in his eyes. A thinker, an artist, a free spirit, and an undeniable energy. that really does sum up that album to me. What do you think about those words about you?
That is, extremely flattering words. Sound like something my mom would wrote or something like that. But no, but seriously, it's I'm flattered. I would hope to live up to that.
From what I hear, you certainly do, sir. That's for sure. Loving the whole of the album, and I've listened to every single track on the album. And Gangsta Americano has that kind of 70s soul feel. It's very retro. Was that intentional, or is that just how that turned out?
That one just kind of turned out that way too. We just kind of, I started humming a bass line in rehearsal one day, and the band picked it up, and the groove just evolved into, we started playing it live, and eventually, as you listen to that song, it's the only one on the album that really sounds like you're at a concert. And it's because it's mostly recorded like studio live, essentially, because I didn't want to go away from the feel of how we usually play that song.
It's got a very kind of 70s, I don't really want to say sort of cop theme feel to it, but it's got that kind of 70s groove to it that, I just love it. It's a very difficult sound to create now in, sort of where we are, 2014. It's and people that can create it, tend to do it, like you say, very organically with sort of lots of acoustic, proper instruments, as opposed to all the drum machines and that kind of thing. And I think that really does come through. I love it. It's a great tune, and certainly one that we'll be giving some airtime to. That's for sure. And I was going to ask you about No Time for Reminiscing. I mean, that is a seriously beautiful tune. I mean, tell us a story about that one.
Oh, man. It's funny, that song is from a keyboard riff that I started to just kind of tinkle on the keyboards in like 1994. And literally, actually, as we're talking now, I'm just realizing that that's 20 years ago.
It is, wow.
Yeah, I started tinkling on the keyboard and just kind of came up with a chord structure. That song has had so many different lyrical variations and melodies over the years, and then about 3 years ago, I think I was reading The Power of Now, and kind of getting into some of the, some Buddhist reading.
Yes.
And it occurred to me that I wanted to speak about being present and not letting the past or anything hinder your present ability and confidence.
Yes, yeah.
And so the lyric came to me before the melody. There's no time for reminiscing when you're letting go.
Absolutely right.
And then we just kind of fit it in, and I'm happy with how it came out. But it's really funny that I'm only now thinking that I started hitting the piano 20 years ago, and that song just finally got finished.
Wow. Well, when you think of the message in that story has been sitting there for 20 years, and that message is still as relevant today as it was 20 years ago. That's unbelievable, isn't it? That's just lovely.
And not to mention, I was only like 5 years old when that 20 years ago.
You was only 5 years old. I wish I was only 5 years old 20 years ago. Brilliant.
I was a teenager, but glad it still kind of has an energy to it, that people can relate to.
Well, I think increasingly, there is a more relation to that sort of lyric nowadays, and I think that's a wonderful thing for the world, and great that people like yourself are delivering, music like that, even though it was 20 years in production, but it was worth it. It is an incredibly beautiful tune, and I think it was well worth the wait, that's for sure. I'm just going to ask you about Little Things. I love the echo on the guitar, and I love the sort of organy sound. I think it's done on a synth, but it might be an organ. It's got that kind of organy sound to it. Can you tell us a little bit more about Little Things?
Yeah, Little Things is produced by a gentleman, a Swedish gentleman who goes by the name of Chords. He's actually a hip-hop artist slash... Well, he's more than just a hip-hop artist. He's an awesome producer. He also sings a little bit. He's actually doing very well over there in Scandinavia. A good friend of mine, he was living in Brooklyn for about a year and a half, and we would get together and just come up with songs. We did Little Things and Happiness together. He goes by the name of Chords, but his birth name is Jens Resch Thompson. Really serious musician, and he brought this, we played a lot of tracks, and I picked that one because of that old doo-wop Philly sound.
It's there, yeah, without a doubt.
I just really wanted to do something that had that stylistic, that feel of Have You Seen Her, or some of the dramatics and all of that stuff, just that on the corner in front of a fiery barrel, rubbing your hands together, quartet.
Yeah, your street jukebox singers. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, love it.
And I wanted to also bring it to now, though, lyrically, and to a personal. I tried to just speak. It's about someone, and so I just spoke very frankly about how I feel.
That's really good.
And just use that style. It's probably between Babylon's Fall Down and Little Things, those are probably my two favorites from the record.
That's good to know. I like to know an artist's favourite records on an album. That you shared the stage with many people, for various genres. But can you tell us about some of those people? That you've sort of shared the stage with.
Sure. One of the more memorable sharing of the stages that I've ever had was I actually was involved in an Alan Toussaint tribute, where we actually wound up performing while he was playing the piano on stage and performing some of his older songs. So I was, I don't know how big he is in the UK. I'm imagining that he's pretty world renowned for his songwriting, at least. But that was really big. I'm actually really good friends with and have performed several shows with a UK great, Jaleesa Anderson.
Wow. Yeah, nice.
She had a really big song back in, I guess it was the 90s, with Friendly Pressure and some other stuff. I'm also in the UK. I'm friends with and have done a few shows with Eska and Heidi Vogel of I think she's in cinematic orchestras from time to time.
Wonderful.
Actually met, and I was on one Bob Marley tribute show in the UK where Don He played, and so did Daniel Bedingfield. So I really came across some and was blessed with performing with some brilliant folks.
That's wonderful. Well, I've interviewed Donny here on the Breakfast Show as well. So you will be on the same wall of fame that he's on. So there you go. It's
cool.
All good.
Really cool guy. Really cool guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and such a wonderful album last year that he brought out, Little Star. Really enjoyed that. That was a great album, and I was going to ask you a little bit more about sort of your musical production, your songwriting. I mean, would you say that most of your songs come from your own experiences, or would you say that it's more sort of fictitious? I mean, a lot of people sort of rely on, sort of things that they pick up elsewhere, and then other people just write from the heart. And I just wondered where you were on that.
It's a mix. my aim is to make even things that that I am sort of contriving from my own imagination have a realness. I try to imagine if this were happening for real. But I would say probably 70% of it comes from true, actual authentic feelings from me, and then I just kind of fudge about 30% of it to, for the sake of telling a story. But I guess 70% is a decent percentage. So
yeah, that's pretty good. I'm liking the idea of that. That's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. So, what do you? If I was to ask you what your most exciting sort of musical event or happening in your career was, what would that be?
Most exciting. Honestly, the most exciting for me is not in front of people. It's not performing with any name or anything. I get most excited when some new melody strikes me in my room, and I feel like that's just probably the most exciting moments. But if not that I don't enjoy being on stage, I really do. That's probably one of the more enjoyable things in my life. But otherwise, I don't know. I played the Essence Music Festival a few years back, and that was one of the warmest audiences I ever had, and it felt. I remember having just a feeling of euphoria for about 30 minutes, which is the longest I've ever felt something like that.
That's absolutely wonderful. How lovely is that? And the future, Tondrae, what are your aims sort of going forward, and where do you see things going really sort of from this moment on?
Well, more music. I'm actually about halfway done with a new album.
Wonderful.
Just trying to decide if I'm going to release some of that as an EP beforehand, or hold off and complete some more tunes. Also, we're working on a web series, a comedic web series, some partners and myself. So I'm actually trying to get back a little bit into the acting and writing and directing of narrative stuff.
Wonderful.
So that is probably the two main things. I just like to be creative and have some passion about what I'm working on, and those two things are sort of my main focal points presently.
That's brilliant. Absolutely lovely. And I guess the last thing really is to point the listeners across the globe, because we're a global station, not just a UK station, but to your social media places where they can pick up your tunes and read about you and find out more about you.
Oh yeah, sure. I have a website, Tondrae.com, TONDRAE.com. On Facebook and Twitter and all of that stuff. Tondrae Kemp is my name, on Instagram and all of that. I'm probably on stuff that I forgot I even had, like High Five and Scribed and whatever. Just any social media, I probably have an account. So if you type in my name, Google my name, and all of this stuff will pop up, or whatever have you. But I suppose Facebook is a good way to connect with me. Please like my page, please. And and then the label site is Quality Records, KWALITY Records.com, and you can pretty much find me or us online.
Wonderful. Tondrae, thank you so much for allowing us to talk to you today and letting us get underneath the Sun Money album. It's a fantastic album. We're really looking forward to the feature with you, and we will let you know as soon as we know which week it's going to be. My producer will tell me when that's going to happen. So thank you so much for spending the time with us today, and thank you for being such a gentleman.
Cool, and thank you. Oh, and one more thing. We're planning to come to the UK soon, hopefully sometime between March and May.
Wonderful. Excellent.
So, well, yes, and thank you. Thanks for interviewing me and taking your time.
No problem at all. Please let us know when you are coming to the UK, and wherever you are playing, we would like to come and see you. And if you can and you've got time, maybe you can pop into the studio here at Sound Fusion Radio and come on air with us and have a chat on air.
I would love to.
Well,
definitely.
All sounds like fun. I think we well, if we can and it fits with your schedule, should I say, we'll make it a date.
Cool. Sounds great.
Wonderful. Okay then, Tondrae, you have an absolutely blessed and beautiful rest of your day, and thank you so much for talking to us.
You too. Great talking to you, Glossy.
You take care. Thanks now.
Later.
Cheers. Bye.